last week during my parade of hats where I showed you the hats that I've knit with our hand spun, I showed you these two hats that were Shetland wool week patterns that use Fair Isle. This one uses 9 different colors, this one uses 5. And I'd mentioned that I make kits, Fair Isle kits, to make these with wool from my sheep. So I want to show you how I make them up. And the first step obviously is to flick card and spin the wool into yarn. And the trick here is I need to get 9 different shades. And on the pattern for the sheep hide hat, Kate Davies actually wrote the pattern. You can purchase the pattern from her Ravelry page, and I put a link on the tag that goes with the kit to access that. But in the pattern, the 9 colors, they have different names, and then they're different shades, and it's the Jamieson and Smith grades, 2004 to 2011 or something like that. 2004. It's not the year, it's actually a identification number. So what I've done is I've worked to match the colors of my sheep to the colors in that pattern. Or just as an example, you could really use these kits for any elaborate Fair Isle design. And then indicate those colors on the labels that I wrap the yarn in. So this is just the beginning. So I've spun everything now. I've got enough to make 10 kits, 9 colors each. And I've spun them all, and then I wind them into 25 feet, I think, pretty much. It's enough to make the sheep hide hat. So these little kind of mini skeins. Then I make 10 of these, wash them and dry them. This is actually from Georgiana. Then I make the tags that go around the cake when I wind up the cake. So this tag is Georgiana, and of course I have to share her picture. The fact that it's 20 plus yards, and it just so happens that this particular identification, which is Shayla, is actually her color. But this is the color that's called out in the pattern, Shayla, and so this is how you match it up. Every year I use a different hue for the colors depending on who I've spun. There's a couple of them. Let me see. I think there's one I'll show you later, but I haven't wound it up yet. But there's a couple that actually make reference to the pattern, not the color. So there's one that's Yuglet, and there's another one that's Cat Mullet, which those aren't colors. Yuglet is a spotting configuration, and Cat Mullet is a pattern. We call it Cat Bucket here. But it doesn't matter, because all it is a label that cross-references to the pattern, so that you know to use this little mini skein whenever this Shayla is called out in the pattern. Then I wind up the yarn on my ball winder, and I'll show you that in a second, into these teeny little adorable cakes. And then I wrap the label around the cake. So I'm in the process of doing that. I've got 2 done so far. I've got white, and this one is musket. And I mimic the spelling, like we say musket here, M-U-S-K-E-T, but for whatever reason in the pattern it's called moo, M-O-O-S-K-I-T, and I go with it, go with the flow. So there's 2 done. I'm gonna do Georgiana now, and I just want to show you how I take it from mini skein, loose skeins like this, to the cake with the label around it. So this is Georgiana, cool Shayla color. So I'm gonna wrap it up on my, I forget what this thing's called. This is what I use to wind up the wool onto the ball winder. Now, so I'm gonna cut this, and I'm gonna be really careful. One time I cut one of these skeins, and I was really sad about that because that was a whole kit that I wasn't able to offer. So I'm gonna grab one got a slip knot in here from when I tied this onto the nitty knotty that I'm going to remove. Wind it up onto my ball winder. Wind it up, and I always hold on to it here just to give it a little bit of tension. So I have a nice compact cake. Okay, so I'm at the end, and then what I do, because I like it to be nice and tidy, is I take one of my mother's old crochet hooks and feed it into the side, a few of the threads, and bring that end up through. So that's not the end you're going to be knitting. You're going to be pulling from this center pull. And I always make sure to leave a little tail there so it's easy to get at. Pretty careful about that. So there is your cute little skein, or ball I mean, excuse me. Then I take my tag, I like to wrap it fairly compactly. And what I am imagining is as you're knitting, you're going to keep these tags right with the yarn. I actually make them into a loop and loop them around the yarn while I'm knitting so that I know what they are. And there it is, nice and neat and compact. And my contact information is also on the tag. I just love it. So there'll be 9 different colors, and I'll show you that once I get the kit finished. And like I said, I've got 10 of them made up. So enough for 10 kits. And then I put it in the plastic tub. I used to work with a woman who would bring these in for me, and I use them in so many different ways as I work on wool and do different things. So I'll keep them all in these, and then when it's time to make the kits, I just pull one from each, kind of like a lean process of manufacturing. So I'm going to keep working on these 9. I got 9 more skeins of Georgiana, and then I have 7 more 10s to make up the full kit. So it's a lot of work, but it's so worth it. It's so cute. I'm ready to package up my skeins for the kit. This is one pack already made up. So I print this little card, and it gives you the link for the pattern for the sheep hide hat. But you could really use the Fair Isle kit for any kind of Fair Isle hat design. There's enough yarn for that. You're going to have left over too. Let's put my website on there in case you need, and my email, because I've had people who've called me saying, oh, I ran out of one of the colors, and I'll send them a couple rounds of the correct color. But here it is. It's so cool. So like I said, it's all the different sheep in my flock that make up the colors. So I'm going to take you through each little mini skein and introduce you to them. So this one is Dowager Countess, and the pattern is calling this color Cat Mullet. So she's a very light fawn, so it looks like it's white, but it's really a creamy fawn color. So that's her. We don't have her any longer. We sold her this year, so she's residing down in central New York. And then there's the beautiful Georgiana. This is a picture of her when she was younger. I probably should get updated pictures of some of my older girls. And in the pattern, her color is called Shayla, so there's where I cross-reference. And she is a Shayla, beautiful steely gray. Next we have O'Brien. So I used O'Brien for 2 colors. She's got a really interesting fleece that has lighter and darker bits. So this color I used it for is called Shalmut, which I believe that's a spotting pattern, but it's okay. So it's kind of more of a lighter moret taupe. And it turned out this one had quite a lot of heathering to it too, which is fine. It'll be pretty. We still have O'Brien in the flock. This one is Circe, and the color that she's used for is called Gulmugget, and it's a light gray. she's really pretty ewe. She's kind of on the smaller side. Fleece isn't really that big. She's a nice ewe. And then we've got Kiri. So Kiri, I haven't talked about this. She was an older ewe. We don't have her any longer. I sold her to a small hobby farm this year. She was in the group of ewes that we used songs that are named by girls. And so songs that are named after girls' names. Whatever. And so in the pattern it calls out for the Yuglet color. So that's the lighter, or no, that's the darker of the O'Briens. Nope, it was the lighter, and that was Kiri. Then we've got, oh my gosh, we have O'Brien. This is the Moret, so this is her darker wool. So it's kind of cool. Same fleece. Make sure I've got this right. Yeah. Same ewe, same fleece. But I just sorted them as I was flicking them, and I was able to get two very different colors, which I think is pretty awesome. And there's our beautiful Fanny. After the Fanny from Mansfield Park. Beautiful oatmeal fawn color. She's got such a sweet little face. I love her. She's a good ewe, real dense fleece. Really nice. Moosket. And then we got the white. I just love Shetland white. It's such a pretty sparkly color. And this was Soraya. And Soraya we actually sold this year to a younger girl. Doesn't live that far from us, which is good in case we decide we want to get her back. She's just beautiful. Nice dense fleece. I ended up spinning her, the most of her wool, because she's probably, I don't remember why. I think it was because I just wanted to have a white to spin. I hadn't spun white in a while. She's beautiful. And then our black ewe is Baxter from the Downton Abbey year. Maybe a little browner black than some of my other blacks, but it's pretty. The gauge on this one is a tiny bit thicker than the rest of them, so she spun up a little bit thicker. So those are the 9 different colors to make up the sheep hide. So I'm going to spend the rest of this afternoon making up the packets. There's going to be 10 of them for the 2020 sheep hide kit, and I'll have them up on my website ready for Rhinebeck, which is a virtual show that's going on next weekend. So these are all the scrap yarns from tying up the skeins. I'm actually going to keep these and just reuse them. There's nothing wrong with them. And the tags. I do this. If there's a blank side, I will reuse it because I'm like that. I printed too many of Fanny here. So yeah, a lot of good work here. Pretty pleased. Let's go get something to eat. We'll do this later. Good morning. It's Saturday of the Virtual Rhinebeck Fiber Festival, and I was open Thursday and Friday. I did Zoom meetings from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. and just awesome. A lot of visitors. I was busy and had people in the room the whole session from 10 to 2. Met a lot of really neat people and real fun conversations. Had a chance to take a couple times, went out to the pasture and introduced the ewes to everybody. Just really fun. I don't think I've talked to this many people since I left my job in January, so just really great. And so what I want to do is this morning, I've got about 10 minutes before the show starts, and I've got to be in my Zoom session, and I wanted to show you what the display looks like. So I set up in my garage. I tried doing footage, zooming other parts of the house, but the bars were so bad that it just didn't work. So I'm in the garage, which faces north, and the garage door is open, so I'm essentially outside, and that's where I'm getting the best, reception. So I'll show you around, and then I got to get to work. So these are the packages I put together from yesterday, which was Friday, and so I would say it was a pretty productive day. Okay, so here it is. There's my cup of hot tea. This is Saturday morning. It's 10 a.m. There's the green picker. I got one of my little gems up here. The line of sight for the Zoom is pretty narrow. I mean, this is pretty much, I'm guessing, what people can see. So I'm trying to cram stuff into the center more. I had everything spread out yesterday. Some raw locks, a ton of spindles. Those are starter spindles, and I normally use those if people are visiting the booth. I get a lot of people that want to learn how to spin, and I'll use those to just do a quick lesson and stuff. There's some raw locks from Nita, my fun, fanciful prints. A cone winder with, I think it's got 3 plastic cones and the winder. All this stuff is up on my shop. My Fair Isle kits, which I did a video on these. Some roving from the fawn rams. It's quality is kind of average, so I don't have a high price on this, but I got a good amount of that in. And then I got some of my hand spun, the new cool black cores from Magicraft. These are the brand new design. I still have comb top left. My shop zeroed out on inventory on a couple of them last night, but I replenished it this morning, so there's inventory back in there. Two cute little lammies. Let's scooch around here. I've got, sorry for the jerkiness, I have one pumpkin kit. I didn't really do a good job of promoting that or getting ready for it, so whatever, I'm not going to worry about it. The jumbo cores, the wooden ones, and then they also have a new plastic jumbo core. So I put those out, my hand spun, some fiber prep stuff, the pretty colorful Magicraft cores, and then here's some of my other Magicraft. This doesn't make any sense. Get that out of there. The Turkish spindle, the overdrive head, lace kit, and the stylus kit, and then I've got a Lazy Kate. And then just this stuff doesn't really show up, but these are things I've just never gotten around to list. Some books that I picked and some really terrible yarn. It's really coarse, but rustic. I just don't like putting it up. I don't know. I don't feel like it fits in with what I'm doing. And then here's where I'm sitting and working. So I've got to go because I think it's right about 10 and that's when my Zoom starts. Yeah, I've got like 3 minutes. So hopefully I get to meet some of you guys. Some of you did pop in yesterday, some of the people that are subscribing, so that was awesome. And we'll see you later.